Crater creatures. What if a creature found itself in a hostile environment with no time for standard evolutionary process? Chance of survival would be very low. However, the crater creatures found a way to survive. They maniacally started spitting out already established DNA sequences in the hope that some of them adapt. Beings with shared DNA and built from the exact same materials, forced into instantaneous evolutionary jumps that result in horrific, semi-functional mashups of recognizable and indescribable animalistic elements. It all begins with the nameless form we'll call the Crater Queen. A hunched monstrosity composed of sinewy strands and tumors, then wrapped in a bleached, leathery hide not quite large enough to preserve her dignity. A humpback which hunched over a cauldron of her own innards, all stemming from discarded parts of living tissue from Scorn's birthing wall. She has a humongous, pale, fleshy body that drapes over an elevator like a thick cloak. On her large, hunched back there are various open wounds/craters. Some creatures can be seen inside these craters. She has a very thick, long neck and a massive head with large, sad eyes. Her mouth seems to be ruptured with only loose flaps of flesh remaining as she groans. The Crater Queen has long, skeletal arms and hands that are immobile, except for some fidgeting with the fingers. She also seems to have stumpy legs, but these are equally non-functional. Below her neck hangs a pair of breasts that close off a few entrances. She's the mother of all other creatures across this video. Wallowing in a darkened lair at the bottom of the crater location, her job is to hemorrhage an endless surge of descendants. Evolution is going about its own way, but the amount of material and time at its disposal is limited. The plague of varmints displayed here represents the first ideas about what would eventually drag itself out from the piles of afterbirth beneath the Crater Queen. Her gruesome discharge coalesced into different forms, entirely at random. In order to progress, the protagonist must extend 4 walkways that connect to the elevator the Crater Queen is perched on. Each time he does this, it tears large, gaping holes in her body, causing the Queen to wail in agony and flail her head and neck. This alerts nearby creatures to the protagonist's presence. Whether this is deliberate by the Crater Queen or just the creatures reacting to the cries of their mother is unknown. Eventually, the protagonist is able to activate the elevator she is perched upon, tearing her apart. As he moves on to the next area, he is able to get a glimpse of the Crater Queen in the distance, partially crushed by the elevator, but still alive and moaning in pain as she weakly surveys what remains of her body. Crater creatures are all the same organism, only the wrapping is different. And what hideous wrappings these are! Some are foul with bodies made from nothing but polyps partially wrapped and baked, crispy skin, stumbling forward on gnarled legs, withered wings flapping in futility and serpentine veins writhing out of the maw where a beak should exist. Others are knotted tubes propelled forward by thousands of grasping cilia. Then there are abominable buntings of conjoined bodies, forever locked into sibling wars. Each creature to appear is even more repugnant than those before it. One of the most remarkable features about these creatures is the blanket lack of features. Their faceless forms, tragically devoid of individualism, acting on instinct alone. It's life as nature intended. Unburdened by personality and consciousness, just organisms going about their work, and that's all there is to it. While the birthing process is a lottery with random clumps of uniform meat either congealing together or breaking apart into different shapes, there's methodology behind the spread of designs. Different types of natural locomotion, crawling, stumbling, running, flying, engender different creature characteristics and therefore gameplay possibilities. These creatures' visuals sought to capture physical traits that lent themselves to different movements and animations, ensuring a wide variety of player encounter types for the creatures making the final cut. Here are some of the crater creators and a brief lore for each of them. First, Arbejdir or workers. Workers are the most commonly encountered creatures that roam around the bioengineered ruins of Scorn. They are organic ant-like creatures that walk on 4 legs that end with 3 stubby fingers and toes. Many of these creatures can be found acting inert, scaling corridors/passageways, or even waiting behind the confines of closed doors. Once seen, they typically become hostile towards the player. When attacking, the creatures tend to either charge towards the player or fire an elongated, sharp projectile from the cavity in their chests. If they manage to stumble close enough to the player, they will either inflict damage via a bite or grapple them before attacking with a red flagella from their chest cavity. They have been shown to utilize some tactics when fighting. In certain areas, the creatures would remain inert, often among dead members of their species, and would wake up once another creature becomes aggravated at the player's presence. One worker becomes hostile when the player shoots a separate sickly-looking worker. Usually, it will only take 2 shots to the head from the bioengineered pistol to take one out, or 5 hits with the melee. However, they have been known to pose a much greater threat in numbers, typically swarming the player if ever given the opportunity. The biological ruin that covers the game area is a result of the creature. Among the larger piles, worker corpses can be found. Additionally, chains of these creatures that hang in higher areas are secured to the wall by the red fleshy webs that can be found everywhere. It's unknown why these creatures produce that material. Another crater creature we encounter is the brute. Brutes are 4-legged creatures with a bulky, hunched appearance. These creatures resemble bulls in their appearance. If they see the protagonist, they will quickly charge at him. However, if there is enough distance between the player, or if the player manages to outrun the charging brute, the creature will ignore the player. Flighter or floaters. Floaters, posed as the flying counterparts to the workers, are shown to be air-bearing, umbrella-shaped creatures lurking around open areas. They have the ability to pulsate in order to propel themselves through the air, much like some aquatic jellyfish in real life, making them faster and harder to hit when compared to some of the other creatures. Throughout gameplay, floaters have been shown to detach themselves as the head from deceased bodies of workers. They typically act passive towards the player, and only require a single shot from the pistol to be taken out. Another noticeable crater is the chickens. Chickens are the second most commonly encountered creatures that roam around the bioengineered ruins of Scorn right behind workers. They are organic creatures that stand upright on 2 legs, but appear unbalanced. Their chest and head resemble a worker, suggesting they might be a larval form. Their small wing arms give them their chicken-like appearance. Unlike workers, chickens can never be found idle, and will always immediately attack the player on sight. They attack by firing a small projectile from their head. The attack falls very quickly, making it a medium or short-range attack. They have very low health, and only take 2 hits from the pistol or melee to kill, or killed in a single headshot from the pistol. They will stagger towards the player while they fire, but still have good accuracy. The projectiles can be dodged if the player is moving, but not easily. The creatures are generally seen alongside workers, but are never found in the chains the workers create with their bodies. Usually, it will only take 2 shots from the pistol or melee to kill one, but they can deal decent damage if not dealt with. Their attacks deal more damage than their small stature would suggest. They normally appear alongside workers, staying in the back and firing. Try to take them out with ranged weapons while avoiding the workers, and finish the warriors once they're done.